would be nice on the committee, the judging committee, but there has to be more coordination, absolutely, because we can't, and I tell all the committee chairmen, before you schedule a committee meeting, make sure your committee members are going to be there. You can't just schedule a meeting and expect them to show up, because we all have things going on. And then after you get a consensus, then you schedule with staff. Make sure staff can be there and they can get the room before you can schedule a meeting. You can't just out of clear blue sky, and we had that with finance last year. That was our first meeting. We'd schedule a meeting, and some of the committee members couldn't be there, and we try to get it for everybody. Commissioner Cabral?
I'd like to second Mr. Kobrin's motion so we can actually conduct this discussion.
We have a motion second so we can discuss it then.
I too agree with you on the language that's in here that requires that there be no connection between the judges and the thing. I think it's only fair that it be equal and balanced. I have no problem with the committee taking another look at it on the basis that it's been discussed here. But I also don't have any real problems with the policy the way it's been suggested by the committee.
Commissioner Capp.
I'd just like to comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have an issue with having 3 commissioners on the judging committee, but I also don't have a problem with having 5 other individuals. The process went smoothly. I've done it the last 2 years. The process goes very smoothly. The conflicts are always a problem. I had a conflict that day too, but I changed my plans, and it wasn't quite as bad as Commissioner Wallace having to not go deer hunting on the last day of his season. But the last 2 days, he got a whole travel day in there. But I think the process is basically okay, and I like the addition of item 4. That's a good change, and maybe there'll be a few more changes if we do wait. So I'd be in favor of just having another look at it.
Commissioner Beth?
Yeah, I'd like to support Commissioner Kobrin on the tabling for now, and I also want to, in the interest of full disclosure, indicate that in the end I was not able to go on my elk hunt, and I ended up having to work both days, and so it really sucked.
Yeah. Any other discussion on this? We have a motion by Commissioner Kobrin to postpone this and get back with the sponsoring individual and to see what we put this language back in and bring it back to us at another committee meeting. And we had a second by Commissioner Capurro. Does everybody understand the motion? If so, I'll call for a vote. All for the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. Next policy, Commissioner Copeland.
Okay, Commission Policy number 1, Mr. Chairman. Number 51, excuse me. Kirch. Award. Open that up to comment.
Yep. Open that up to any comments by the commission.
Okay, I just want to reiterate my my comment on the configuration of the members that should vote on that. I won't go into a detail, but Commissioner Capurro felt that it was not at the right time, so I'm just reiterating right now. So I have nothing to add that I already stated.
Commissioner Rain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, the composition of any group, or judging group, is always going to be subject to ridicule no matter what the composition of it is. There will always be reasons to ridicule it. But this particular award, Wayne Kirch was a commissioner, and he was perhaps our most famous commissioner. And every day as a commissioner, we sit in the shadow of the guy who everything is named after, and that being in our position, we probably more than any other group should have responsibility for deciding an award that's given in his name because he was famous for sitting on the commission. That's what he did and the actions that he performed while he was here. So I didn't come up with the idea, but once I started thinking about it and you hear of the input, yes, there's negatives, but there's negatives with any composition. But this composition would be the most fair simply because that is what he did. That is what we have to live up to as commissioners. And so, you know, if anybody determines that award, it should be the people that come after him. Thank you.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We need to also point out that Marlene Kirch is aware of the change, and she's okay with it. And this, if anybody's affected by it more than her, it could only be the recipient of the award. And so I'm in favor of keeping it like it is, or proposed changes.
Commissioner Kobrin?
Yes, sir. First of all, some of the comments, it was pointed out yesterday, and comment was made in the public today again, but this policy would not change the nominating process one bit. Anybody could nominate anybody, and that's not changed at all, nor does it preclude input into the process. We're no different than anybody else is. I'm interested in hearing, that's why I'm here, to hear what the public or the groups have to say in that. So I think it's a little unfortunate that someone would think that we're less likely to make a fair and balanced decision than somebody else would be. I'm in favor of the changes, again, for the reasons that I've stated.
Commissioner Moran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure that Marlene Kirch, from what I understood yesterday, that she was privy to the changes that were made. Is that, I'd like to ask that again.
Kim Jolly with Endell for the record. That's correct. She was not, since we didn't make the changes until the committee meeting. She sent an email, or she actually spoke with Conservation Division Chief Kelly Clark, who relayed to me through an email that Marlene was notified of the meeting, and since there weren't any changes, she couldn't comment specifically on changes, but she did state that she hoped that the award would continue and that if she could participate with the committee, she'd help with that. But she wasn't privy to the changes, and I haven't had any contact with her after the committee approved changes. So we can certainly contact her. I think she's traveling a lot, so.
Commissioner Cavan?
My only comment is I don't really have too much problem with the changes, but I do think that in reviewing policy 1 that we may be, we're probably not violating that policy because we're having 2 readings, but I think we're probably violating the spirit of that policy by having these not looked at. And if there wasn't any public comment, that'd be one thing, but there has been considerable public comment on these issues, so that's kind of where I'm having some heartburn here.
Commissioner Wallace?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comment is that maybe in the spirit of compromise here, maybe what we need to look at is if we have 3 wildlife commissioners on here and Mrs. Kirch, and then 3 of the judges representing the county advisory boards. That way, in the true spirit of the person that this is named after, if there's a true tie, she would be the one casting the vote to select the award. Because I don't see any reason to remove the other 4 judges, but I can see the point of it's a commission award, but at the same time, it could still be a commission award. The commission would have a say in it, but in the true end, Ms. Kirch would have the choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kobrin.
Just in the interest of of making sure the record is reflective of it. It's my understanding, although I'd like to ask our Deputy Attorney General to clarify it, that, and there's two reasons for it, to clarify that these, in effect, hearing it one day and then hearing and acting on the next day is legal. And there are two reasons for that. If you didn't do that, every action that this commission has taken back in perpetuity would be in question, because that's the process that's been used. To complain about it now, I think, is irrelevant.
I'll answer that question and with I can't answer that question specifically and in a detailed manner because I haven't reviewed the policies, but basically, as I've told you before, the policies are guidelines for the department, and it's been consistently interpreted since I've been involved in this body that reading one, even though it's considered one meeting for the 9 meetings a year, that one reading on Saturday, one reading on Friday, one reading on Saturday was sufficient. Now, in the regulatory process, I'm pretty sure I've been involved in adopting regulations for a different agency where you would have the workshop meeting, you close the workshop meeting, and then you start the second meeting right away. So whether it's in keeping with the policy, again, the policies are just guidelines. The department or the commission has always interpreted it that way, where you could do one reading on Friday, one reading on Saturday. And so as far as giving you a definitive final legal answer, I can't do that today. I didn't have time to look at it last night. And so, but as you say, that's the way it's always been done. The policies are just guidelines, and the regulations allow you to do it successively. So,
thanks, sir.
And we did it.
One other
we
question.
did earlier today.
Yeah, one other question is that the issues that we deal with, or that in my past life as an association executive for several state agencies, the process they used is exactly as you described. Held a workshop in the morning, held the vote in the afternoon. That constituted a legal responsibility for dealing with those proposed changes. Why should we be any different?
And we've done that and everything. Any other comments? Hearing none.
I just have one more comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. It was read into the record yesterday, and I was at the CAB meeting for Clark County, and they did approve this change. Clark County did.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Ready to make a motion?
Oh, we don't have a motion yet. Okay, I'm sorry.
Ready to make a motion?
I'd
like to make a motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve Commission Policy 51 as presented by the committee and as read by the committee's chairman, Mr. Kobrin.
Point of order. I just wanted to understand where, with regard to my initial motion to table all three for the reasons stated, I wondered where we stood on that. And if that motion isn't properly before, I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better for me to make my motion first before Scott makes his motion.
Second.
Who makes motions first doesn't, you know.
Didn't accept it because public comment hadn't been made.
Yeah, see, I wanted to go public comment. That's why I didn't set your motion. I wanted, because maybe there was something the department come up with that would influence your mind to change your votes on 22. So I wanted to hear all the testimony before I had any motions.
Okay, I understand that, but the motion was made and it was seconded and it hasn't been withdrawn, and so I guess from point of order, I'm asking the procedural question.
And I rule it out of order, but if we want to go to take a vote on the first motion, I'm willing to do
Okay.
that. If that's okay with.
Does he have to withdraw?
Mr. Chairman, I'm with you, Mr. Chairman.
Does he have to withdraw?
Acceptable.
Does he have to now withdraw his motion he just made?
I think they can both stay pending
Okay.
as long as you take them
Okay.
in order. I didn't bring my Robert's Rules of Order at
I
all.
did. Let's take a couple minutes.
I'm pretty sure that's right, but I don't have it memorized. He's got the same version I have. He's got the version I got.
We make a motion, more public comment. I wouldn't have thought it was appropriate. That was all.
Just makes more sense.
I think you could, let me look it up, but I think you can make.
Give us a
motion.
minute, give us a minute.
But we've already taken something, so this is with respect to 51.
That's what we pay them those big bucks for.
We do what he says and be happy. That's my situation.
My motion doesn't. Turn right around and make this up.
But I didn't accept the motion because I wanted to hear public comment, that might change your mind. And
I just
until we
don't know
hear,
what, yeah,
until we hear everything, it's not fair to do a motion before we have public
Well,
comment.
what my intention, Jerry, was is because we've now spent all this time, and so if it's ultimately tabled, then we've spent all this time, and that was my purpose to do it first.
Yeah.
To try to keep us from going through all of that.
I wanted to hear what-
That was my intent. It
I want to
wasn't.
hear what the
wasn't-
public said.
Yeah.
Either way.
Let's just do a 5-minute recess here by research.